All AdSense revenue from this video is going towards the Michael Lutin Memorial Fund to purchase a grove of trees and have them planted where they are most needed. There is a giveaway happening right now in service of this very fund as well. Stay tuned later in this video for all the details of how you could win prizes and contribute to this worthy cause. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of December 22nd, 2024. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now. Boys, at a very special time. And it truly is so special now. Powerful energies are with us, and it is going to be this week that we have Jupiter squaring Saturn. This is perhaps the most important celestial connection of 2024. This is the second time these two planets are connecting in this way. The last time was all the way back in August. And now here we are, the last full week of 2024. And boy, does the universe want us to understand, to know, and in some ways come to a fruition of what it is that we have learned this year about ourselves and about each other. Jupiter square Saturn. This is energy I remember talking to you about along with some of my friends like Michael Barwick, like Andy of Wise Ass Astrology. Both of them were speaking with me on this channel about how important this conversation was set to take place. And we have here both planets, Saturn and Jupiter, in the same signs, with Saturn in the sign of Pisces and Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. Now, both of these energies in their own way represent a sense of established ways of belief, established ways of doing things. This is emphasized by Saturn being in Pisces, the energy of being plugged into source and what it is that we feel so strongly, we believe so strongly. But of course, Jupiter, the very nature of Jupiter itself being of philosophy and those religious beliefs that help us to make sense of the world and guide our lives, the religious institutions as well. Well, all of this is likely to come into focus in some way as we collectively are looking at what it is that we believe and how the realities we are shaping are rooted in those beliefs, or where there's a disconnect in some way. Now, last time we had Mars in the mix, and that brought with it intensity, tension certainly, brought with it frustration, and it brought with it a sense of awareness around power. Who has the power, but also who doesn't? Well, this time it's Mercury, which is a different energy. It is Mercury that is going to be standing across the sky from Jupiter and speaking in a conversation of tension with Saturn. And this sets up a larger configuration of tension that astrologers call a T-square. It's not just a square, which can denote activity, but you add a T-square and it adds that much more tension into the mix. It adds that much more a need to consider other perspectives or to in some way be diplomatic, even when it's hard. It adds with it a sense of insight with Mercury, but also healthy detachment as well. It's going to be really important to look at our own thought processes and how they color our interactions with others, but also where we might be seeing that on a world stage. So much of belief determines perception, and we will likely see some very stark examples of this showing up for us at this time. Jupiter is understood to be a principle of expansion. Wherever it is in the zodiac that Jupiter travels through, well, it is our understanding of the characteristics of that sign that tend to be amplified that much more. And there tend to be developments in those very areas and industries that are overseen by that sign. And it is the sign of Gemini that has to do with how we're communicating, what we're communicating. It has to do with the media, particularly traditional media and local media. And it has to do with our own thought processes as well. And while Jupiter can encourage us to see things more optimistically, to communicate in ways that are more hopeful, it might also be the case that sometimes we can get very carried away on what's being said to us or what it is that we are saying. So much so that the realities are not nearly as significant as the processes of sharing. And of course, we're seeing this now with how many people are feeling like there's a disconnect between what they're being told on a level of media and what it is that they're actually feeling. Now, wherever it is that Saturn goes, it brings with it an element of restriction or limitation. But really, it asks us to get honest about what is real. What is the evidence? What are the facts here? But right now, Saturn has been continuing to move through the sign of Pisces. And Pisces is almost like the opposite of those very principles. Pisces is about the dream, the imagination, the belief. It is about feeling instead of necessarily knowing. It is about inspiration, not necessarily manifestation. However, inspiration needs manifestation to count for something, but it's an important starting point. And so having Saturn here isn't necessarily the easiest placement for Saturn because Saturn needs to feel like there's something to do. But with Pisces, it's about the effort taken to allow, to surrender, and to think about how things can actually work themselves out when it is that we're willing to notice what wisdom might be playing out at any given time. It is the strength and the groundedness that we find within when we do our best and we surrender the rest, which is part of the higher spiritual understanding of what Saturn itself represents. Now, having said that, the square here, it is challenging, because it invites us on the one hand to look at what's being said and to take the best of it and to use it to inspire us towards something better, towards something more. But a lot of these energies say that we're either likely to get very wound up in what is not real, what is not factual. We're more vulnerable to believing things that are tall tales, to put it nicely. And that might not be such a bad thing when it is that we're willing to see the best in other people and the best in humanity. But it can be not a great thing when the power of belief is used to manipulate people, especially on a level of masses. The thing is, with squares, manipulation only goes so far. It only allows for so much. And it is through that understanding that, maybe we are being guided in ways that are not necessarily to the highest evolutionary understanding of what's good for us. As we come to understand this, as we come to see it, well, then we're left with even more questions as to what is it that is real? What is it that we can believe or not? Now, another way this energy could show up, because this is a week where there are a lot of holiday celebrations taking place in many places in the world now. And that means gathering with others very often, means meeting people, family members, where perhaps there's beliefs or worldviews that don't necessarily are in agreement, right? And how are we going to navigate that? How are we going to approach it with feeling like what we believe is right? And we may judge other people who believe differently. And where is that appropriate and where is it not? And where is it that people might use that to manipulate us, to push our buttons? But also, with Mercury in the mix, I think we're more willing to see through that illusion. There are definitely times in history when there's been a force collectively, politically, religiously that's told people one thing, and the people themselves don't feel connected to that message. It's like they know that there's something else going on or something else is the case. And then where is it they will then find power? Well, those powers can be found in different ways as well. I'm reminded of, for example, the Protestant Reformation, and this was a huge, really political movement that took place, going all the way back to the 1700s. What laid the foundation for the Protestant Reformation to take place was really the printing press. Because of the printing press, more books were able to be made, including the Bible. And as more books were made available, more people learned to read. And as they were reading the Bible, they started to think, you know what, I can make sense of this in a way that isn't necessarily about anybody else telling me what it means. It was the Catholic Church that was very much at the forefront of political power and power in terms of what people believed. And it was the Bible that at the time was written in Latin. And it was priests who interpreted what the Bible meant for the masses. But people started growing discontent with the Catholic Church because of what's called the indulgences. And it was basically this idea that if you gave a donation to the church, you could have certain sins forgiven. And what the masses were seeing take place is people who had a lot of money, well, they would go off on a weekend. They'd have a whole lot of fun over the course of that weekend. They'd be open to all kinds of debauchery and hedonistic activity. And then they would come on Sunday morning to church. They would pay their indulgences and all would be forgiven. And all kinds of things that a lot of people found objectionable were being forgiven simply because people had the money to pay the church. And that became a huge part of, I would say, arguably so. I'm sure there are historians out there that might have a more nuanced interpretation, but that was certainly an important part of the discontent that people were feeling at the time. And then you add to it this layer of more people being able to have access to this information that they found in the Bible in their own language. And that was a huge game changer as well. But it isn't just that. Up until this point, there was this overriding belief that some people were just closer to the divine than others. That there were some people who were set up through their station in life. They might be royalty or nobility or the priests. But it was these people who were intermediaries to God or to the gods. And this was a dominant world view up until very recently in human history. And this idea that the individual could determine their own relationship to the divine itself, who could read the Bible in the West, who could read the Bible and decide for themselves what it means and to forge that personal relationship with the divine. Well, that was quite revolutionary in terms of, the established order, which would say, who are you to say that you know what the will of God, the voice of God, the intention of God actually is? Who are you to determine that based on what you are reading? Some people are just born or just qualified for that role a whole lot more than others. Well, just the simple act of being able to read, being willing to decipher, that in and of itself was revolutionary. Now, this is actually an incredible example of how Jupiter square Saturn plays itself out, in that the masses or the people are being told one thing. They're saying, this is the interpretation, this is how it is. But people are figuring it out for themselves. They're deciding for themselves. And with Mercury in the mix now, it's so much about the conversations people are having a lot more personally, and what it is that they're striving to decipher for themselves in their own minds through their own conversations with people that they know, that is setting up this very tension, that's magnifying it for us that much more right now. And certainly we can see this on a collective level where independent media, individual commentary that we see has gained more and more traction, gained more and more cultural clout and power. We see this happening with huge podcasters, which have become more influential than traditional media outlets. And this trend is only going to magnify more and more with Pluto in Aquarius, which gives everybody a stage, a voice, which gets rid of hierarchies, it gets rid of celebrity. In fact, Pluto in Aquarius is like the anti-celebrity. What is established is distrusted. And it is under the light of these very tensions that we have this week. What a way to end a year when all of us, in our own ways, are looking at this. What are we going to believe? What are we not? What are we being told? And who's saying it? Who are we going to trust? Because the voices and the places and the mediums where that trust has been traditionally, well, something might just feel off, especially with a week like this. Now, this is energy that we're coming into this week with. It's such huge energy when we have Jupiter and Saturn. But now, as these energies perfect, it represents a big and important and really breakthrough moment for us now. A breakthrough insight into personal understanding of what our very role to the information we're being told and what it is we believe to be true. Well, what is that going to mean for us in our own lives? How is that going to change our behavior? How does it now, as a result of what we're coming to understand and even perhaps more importantly articulate, how does that change the choices we make going forward from here as we embark on the precipice of a brand new year right around the corner? This larger T-square will be operational all week, but as we move towards the end of the week, we have another really interesting and important phenomenon taking place that also in its own way is going to be experienced throughout the week as well. And this involves the midpoint of Mars and Saturn. It is Uranus that's going to move over this midpoint. Now, midpoints are used primarily in prediction. They're considered a more advanced technique in astrology. And I find them incredibly important where it comes to understanding larger events that might be speaking to a lot of us. But on another level, I want you to consider a matter that's been fascinating a lot of people right now, especially in Canadian media. I've seen it, in US media, I've seen it, and that is Luigi Mangione, who I think perfectly exemplifies exactly what this midpoint is about and what it is that we're coming to understand as a collective. So as soon as this event took place, which was the shooting of a health care industry executive by Luigi, the first thing I thought of was Pluto and Aquarius. And the big reason for that was the way in which immediately it felt like everybody started talking about phrases like class consciousness and class solidarity. These are very Aquarian terms to be using. And it is Pluto that can be very intense. It forces us to look at the underbelly, and sometimes that can be violent. And that's what we had encapsulated here, this incident that took place that felt like in an instant it sort of turned something over and had us look at what was underneath the surface that represented a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of rage. Now, just before this week began, we had Luigi show up in New York surrounded by police officers and other law enforcement people. And when I looked at that image, it seemed so much like Jupiter square Saturn, really, this idea of power and structure and who's going to have it and who is going to be sequestered, who's going to be separated. It was quite the sight. I do think that it is very possible we are going to see some developments or hear of some new understanding that is set to take place before the week is out with the activation of this midpoint. And it may come up very much by surprise and seemingly out of nowhere. Now, this could represent a demonstration. It could represent some activism. It could represent a statement that nobody expected, seemingly out of nowhere. But it's going to have a confrontational quality to it. And it very likely is going to evoke an understanding of what's going on with this particular case, having to do with Luigi. There's a birth chart for Luigi Mangione that's been circulating. And this shows us Jupiter in Pisces, which already is a very strongly placed Jupiter in the sign of its ancient rulership, opposite the moon. I am of the belief that when faith is healthy, it questions itself. When faith is healthy, it wanes. And just having this placement of the moon and Jupiter does suggest that this isn't necessarily a person who's readily able to question their own faith so easily. Now you add to this the fact that Jupiter is setting up a T-square with this opposition. You add to it that Saturn is in the mix here as well, with that Saturn-Jupiter square activating this chart in big ways. Well, it all adds up to a moment that was a long time coming, that this person was likely building towards, and now here we are on the other side of it, and we're looking at it more personally, where he's going to be invited to now reflect, to take a pause more and more, especially as we get to Saturn moving more and more towards his Jupiter. I think that for him personally, as part of his own sacred journey, this event, this moment was building for a while. However, we can expect some events to transpire for Mangione once we get to March in particular. That is when Saturn will exactly conjunct his Jupiter. And that's when I think there's going to be a different appreciation more personally on his part as to the significance of his recent actions, why they occurred, and what his next best steps are as part of his own personal journey. We will end the week with an interesting energy of Venus square Uranus. Now, any squares of Uranus bring with them quick moving moments that feel like a surprise, that feel like they come out of nowhere, but they hold a measure of truth within them. And when it is Venus square Uranus, well, it is about very quick ways of needing to see what's happening in terms of our hearts and in terms of our understanding of what beauty is to us, what pleasure is to us, and what abundance is for us as well. Now, one of the more immediate ways I think this is likely to play out is going to be in terms of love and romantic experiences. They really might go in directions we didn't anticipate. Romantic surprises will not go as planned, may not have nearly the effect that we'd hoped. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not the time for romantic surprises. But I would also say it's not the time for really important beautifying treatments. Whatever it is that you do to celebrate your unique beauty. If you go out and get some clothes in a totally different style, it just might not have the intended effect that you hope. If you get a new hairstyle, I like to say it's just hair, but yeah, that really could be an experiment that takes you a whole other way than you intended. And the same is true for cosmetic procedures, tattoos, and things like that. So it's up to you to decide how to navigate that, but it's a really good idea if you have anything like that planned, some special occasion you're wanting to shop for. I would encourage you to try to do that as early in the week as possible, if that's your thing. And if it is that you're looking to meet new people, or maybe you have some special romantic adventures planned, well, make sure you pace yourself at this time, knowing that what you're expecting and what the reality is could end up being really different. So pace yourself and be yourself. I like to say that, but that is especially true with Venus square Uranus. And this is also true wherever it is that you are splurging, whatever that means to you. That splurge could be on a new thing or on an experience, may not be as satisfying as we hope. And I'm so sorry to say, but it does happen. But the thing is, at least whatever comes forward, there is a measure of truth there. Within the unexpected, within the surprise, there is a light bulb that likely is going to come on. Now, that light bulb just might be, why do we want what we want? Why is it that we think a certain thing is beautiful to us, or we have to be a certain way to be seen as beautiful or not? What is it that we cultivate within ourselves because we think it's going to help us to be more attractive to others, not just romantically, but personally or professionally? And where is it that perhaps we're not being true to ourselves in the process of pursuing that? These might be some of the questions that arise for us at this time. But in the midst of that, we just might also find some truth there. For some, it's going to be very enlightening, but at the same time, whether it comes on in a way that feels jarring or feels welcome, it gets us to the same place of being more truly and uniquely ourselves, and to embody that uniqueness, no matter whom it is that we might interact with, whatever experiences we might engage with. It is an opportunity here to find a depth of understanding, of appreciation within ourselves about what it is that we feel connects us to our own unique beauty, and to find strength within it, not necessarily from outside of us, but from our own approval and our own appreciation. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It is a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Well, I'm going to say it is, of course, that hugely significant aspect of Jupiter square Saturn. Now, this is energy that was operational in a big way going all the way back to August, but really it's come to define much of 2024 for us, where more than ever we're examining for ourselves what is true, what is real, and what do we believe, and how does belief actually determine perception? How is it that we understand the world around us based on a set of identifiable preconceptions? And where is that working for us, and where is it not? Who is it that owns the truth? Who's going to be the bearer of truth? And what is that going to mean for our lives? Not just collectively, but individually as well. And whom is it now that we're going to go to for wisdom, if not ourselves? These are some larger questions at play, but there are going to likely be some more immediate cultural examples that have us paying attention to these very questions in our own unique ways. We're being asked to reflect, but also to practice a healthy sense of detachment, a healthy sense of being able to step back, to reflect, to find a different understanding. And it is through the process of discernment and through conversation, seeking other perceptions and opinions, that we ultimately come to our own understanding about what truth is going to be right for us, and where it is that it is a truth that guides us to embody greater love and greater wisdom, that much more. Well, that's when we're on the right track. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love to read you guys, and to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, subscribes, shares, thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. When you do any of those things, you really help the algorithm of this video. You help it to reach that many more people. And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, log on to NadiaShawSuperstars.com, where you get expanded exclusive video scopes for just $3 a month. Would choose your membership rate. Now, higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the superstar space at NadiaShawSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. Michael Lutin was an incredibly dear friend of mine, and he was on the faculty of Synchronicity University. He passed away recently, and it affected me very strongly. His family recently came out with an announcement, an obituary of his passing, and letting us all know that there is going to be a memorial service later in 2025 in his honor. As part of this, they have made it available to purchase trees. You can purchase a single tree or a grove of trees. And my goal is for us as a collective to be able to gift a grove of 50 trees on behalf of Synchronicity University. And in that aim, all of the AdSense revenue from this video is going to go towards this charity drive. And right now we have giveaways happening like we do every holiday season. And it is this entire giveaway season that is in the service of raising money towards a purchase of a grove of 50 trees. Now, the grove of 50 trees costs $499. Normally, AdSense revenue per a given video runs about $130, sometimes more, sometimes a bit less. But whatever it is, it will go towards this fund, which means my hope is that if you are watching this, that you would consider donating. If you do donate to this money that we are putting together for this grove of trees, you'll get a lot more entries into the current draw that we're having, the current giveaway that we're having. And every day we've been announcing new prizes, and we are going to right into the middle of this week as well. So there's still time to win things. You get a lot more entries if you donate, no matter how small that donation might be. And you can find all those links over on my website, nadiashaw.com, or I'll make sure to link it below as well. And I hope that you will look forward to doing this, partly because, of course, it is such an honor to be able to give back to Michael Lutin, who gave so much, including being on my channel multiple times, sharing his wisdom, sharing his insight, but also so that some trees get planted where they're really needed, and that they might bring life and vitality where they are needed as well. Would be such a beautiful way to honor Michael Lutin's legacy. And you get to win prizes. You get free stuff as well in the process. So please do have a look at the link below and join us. It's not a whole lot of money to raise together. And I think that we can certainly do it together as a collective, as friends and fans of my work, but of course, students of Synchronicity University as well as a community. Absolutely, this is doable, and I look forward to doing this together with you. Synchronicity University has some absolutely huge programs coming up this January. You've got just a week left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class. Check out these huge legends and these legends in the making. I'm so excited to share them with you. And I am going to start with our very big dog, the one and only Maurice Fernandez. Now, Maurice is one of the leading evolutionary astrologers on the planet, and we are so fortunate to have him teaching at Synchronicity University now. And he is going to be teaching a 5-week course, helping you to start a brand new year, fully rooted in principles of evolutionary astrology to help you to make the most of this time. In my recent interview with Maurice, I'll tell you, he made such an impression on me. And this is somebody I've known and spoken to many times over the years. I think the first time I interviewed him was way back in like 2009 or 2010. And now here we are. And he has certainly made himself into this presence in the astrology world as the author of the book on Neptune that so many people look to as helping them to understand how to tap into the evolutionary power of this planet. It certainly does stand out as an incredibly important work to so many people. And you can really see this wisdom shine forward from him in this conversation that I have with him. So I hope that you will check that out. That should be published at the time that this video is publishing. But Maurice is going to take you through all kinds of really big evolutionary transits set to take place this year, helping you to make the most of them. Now, at $5 a class, this really is the only place, Synchronicity University is the only place that you're going to be able to learn from Maurice at that low a rate, a part of our mandate of making quality astrological education available to the masses. And this is a very special program not to be missed. What a wonderful way to start a new year with the one and only Maurice Fernandez. You've got just a few days left to choose your tuition rate. So it's just $5 a class. Maurice Fernandez, only at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University presents the one and only Sabrina Monarch. So wise, so insightful, and now coming to Synchronicity University with a 5-week course on the Akashic Records, a super powerful topic and a popular topic as well. I know so many are going to get so much from this. Again, a powerful way to start a brand new year, understanding how to access the Akashic Records, how the outer planets can help us to access the Akashic Records, this book of wisdom that is said to be able to be accessed in another spiritual space and spiritual realm. And it helps you to understand your soul's journey, where it's been, where it is now, and where it is heading as part of the many lifetimes you've lived and the many lifetimes yet to live. And Sabrina is someone so rooted in myth and spirit, and she's just so true to herself. Every time I talk to her, I learn more about my own chart. I learn more about astrology and how I want to approach it. And I always come away with new wisdoms, new insights, new techniques that make me better. And I know that so many people are going to feel this as part of this 5-week journey that you get to take with the one and only Sabrina Monarch. Now, you've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, to learn about the Akashic Records from the one and only Sabrina Monarch. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University presents the one and only Key Tyler. I love Key. She is so rooted in spirit and love in her astrological practice. And she is going to be teaching a 5-week course helping you to understand the 5 elements and how they connect you to your senses. This is a very experiential class that brings your own chart and your astrological understanding alive with meaning and purpose and personal emotional connection as well. Now, Key is a student of Maurice Fernandez. She is an evolutionary astrologer as well, and she's all about helping you to understand your soul's journey and your soul's evolution. And in the case of this course, how to use your 5 senses one at a time as you move through this program, how to use them to your advantage, how to understand fire, earth, water, air, and spirit, and how you live it, how you experience it in your life. This is a course that's going to root your emotional understanding of the cosmos within you, the elements within you, and how you can use them to your advantage that much more to create an incredible year ahead. Learn from Key Tyler now. You've got just a week left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University has an absolutely incredible speaker series coming up this January 2025 with these incredible astrologers that I'm so excited to share with you, to celebrate with you. What an incredible group of people. Let's start with Natalie Levin. She brings such an open heart and open spirit and creative vision to her astrological practice. And you've seen her on my channel a whole lot of times. I know you saw her conversation with me on my channel as well recently. And it is Natalie that's going to help you to tap into whatever your muse is to do better astrology readings. Anj Noor, I spoke to this woman recently and she made such an impression. She is such a force. I'm looking forward to what more she has yet to do in astrology. She brings so much love for the sky. And the conversation I had with her recently made such an impression because it was all about like getting excited about outer planet transits, even the hard ones. And she invites you to consider the low vibration and high vibration of different placements. Well, in this class, she's going to do that for each and every sign as you go around the zodiac wheel, helping you to understand the higher and lower frequencies of a given sign and how to make sure you're accessing the best. Vanessa Guy is super exciting. I'm so excited about this talk. It is about helping you to navigate 2025 with the power and understanding of the North Node. Now, it is this class that's going to be presented in ASL with an English interpreter. So this is our first ever ASL class at Synchronicity University. So I'm so excited to be welcoming Vanessa as part of this. Now, Vanessa is actually somebody I discovered online. Her platform is called Astro Woke, and I just loved her interpretations, her presentation, and just her embodiment of love and wisdom of the planets and of astrology. And it really is because she's an amazing astrologer that she's been invited to Synchronicity University. And I just love that she's just being authentically, truly herself in what it is that she brings, and that we get to have an ASL class. I'm really excited about that as well. So I hope that you will check it out. You're going to learn a whole lot from Vanessa Guy. Vivia D'Souza, another person you've seen on my channel before. I love Vivia. I met her over a year ago at the Canadian Astrology Conference, and she made such an impression. She's going to be teaching sigil magic. I actually love sigil magic. I use it in my own life as well, in my private personal practice. And it is about being able to encapsulate a spirit, a vibe, a planet, an energy, and being able to create an image that supports your intention. The foundational text to sigil magic is called the Picatrix. It's a text that is about 1,000 years old. And I actually wrote an academic paper on the Picatrix years ago, and you can read that up on my website as well. So this is a well-established tradition in occult practice, and Vivia is going to help you to tap into its power. Catherine O'Connell is going to talk about rewilding Saturn. We normally don't think of Saturn as a wilding principle, right? As something that represents being carefree and all those things that being wild represents. But Catherine's got a whole other way of looking at it, and she's going to help us to understand that as part of her talk as well. So you can see here we've got an incredible January 2025 speaker series, and you've got just a week left as this week starts to choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class to learn from these incredible speakers. Sign up now. Links are in the description below. And thank you. Thank you so much for this moment with you. Thank you for your trust. I'm so grateful for it. Stay tuned for short horoscopes coming up right now. And I hope that you will join the giveaway. I hope that you will consider donating whatever you can, even if it's just $2 or $3, whatever the case may be, towards being able to contribute to Michael Lutin's memorial grove that I would love to be able to gift him and his family, and get some trees planted in a place where they are really needed on behalf of Synchronicity University to honor his incredible contribution to astrology, to our school, to our community, and so much more. So have a look at that, and you just might win something that you feel really good about as well in the process. And of course, the classes are starting really soon. This is the time to sign up, only at Synchronicity University for just $5 a class. Incredible programs coming up. Thank you so much again for watching. Thank you for seeing me as part of your journey as we move towards the end of a year. I know we're not there yet. I know we have the first half of next week as well, and I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way. But how much of a blessing for me to feel like I've been some part of your sacred journey. Just thank you. Thank you so much for that. I mentioned last week, I've gotten people reaching out about readings in Tokyo and in Brisbane. Yes, those will be available. In-person readings are going to happen. First come, first serve. There'll be just a limited number, but I'm super happy to meet friends and fans. And if you can't get a reading, or you don't feel like that's what you can do right now or want to do right now, and you just want to meet for a hug, that's okay as well. I'm very happy to meet friends and fans when I'm on the road. So the first week of January is Tokyo, and then 2 weeks in Brisbane. Although a chunk of that time I will be teaching at the FAA conference, this huge conference event that happens in Brisbane, or just outside Brisbane rather, on the Gold Coast every 2 years. So this is a really big moment, but I'll be there teaching and signing books and all that good stuff. And then I'll head to Singapore for a couple of days. And so there too, it's possible for me to meet and hug, although that'll be a quick visit. Then I'll be transiting through Germany, and I'll be in Germany for just 24 hours. That's later in January before I come home for my birthday later in January. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a hustle bustle, but it's also set to be really exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. And of course, I always love meeting friends and fans out there. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of it and for this moment with you. Stay tuned. And until we connect again, take care, and it'll be a great week. Enjoy. Last week, we ended with Venus trine Jupiter, one of the more romantic vibrations that we see. But this week, on the 28th of December, we are going to have Venus square Uranus, and talk about a shock a minute. It is a wake-up call after being in a dream that had us swept up in a moment and swept up off our feet. This represents romantic surprises that do not go as planned. This represents some truth coming forward that changes us on a level of heart. Now, because this is Venus, it isn't just about love. It's also about our understanding of our own unique beauty, how we celebrate it, how we amplify it, and abundance and pleasure and socializing in general. Well, all of these matters are about to turn on their heads. So if it is that you have important experiments to be had where it comes to trying out a new hairstyle, new clothing style, or maybe even cosmetic procedures or tattoos, they tend to go off in a whole other direction, especially when they are done under this light. So late in the week, that's what you want to avoid. Now, outside of that, if you have social gatherings, social events taking place in this week, which is, of course, one of the more important holiday weeks in much of the world right now, well, yeah, just plan for connecting with or becoming aware of what's going on with people that perhaps you were connected to in the past. But this can also be what you thought would be really fun, turning out really not to be, very much by surprise. Those connections that are usually easy can feel erratic and uncomfortable. And those social connections that usually feel like you don't really know what's going on and someone is either a mystery, well, you might come to realize the mystery gets solved and they're really not nearly as fascinating as you had hoped. Now, because abundance and money is covered here, just know that there can be a sense of unexpected sticker shock, as they say, especially where it comes to items that have to do with splurges and pleasures. Now, regardless of where it is that this energy falls, understand that love can show up. Love can take you by surprise, but it can also feel like what you discover in love, it ends up being a game changer. Now, what it changes tends to be after a moment of some discomfort. Now, where it is that this energy of a surprise a minute and unexpected happenings that you thought were going to be very sweet and lovely and turn out really not to be, well, a lot depends on your sun, moon, and rising sign. You want to take all three into consideration, synthesize the information to make it unique to you. And of course, lots more horoscopes up on my YouTube channel, including monthly horoscopes and over in the superstar space at thefutureismagical.com. Aries, love and friendship are intimately tied for you now, but that's exactly where things can get really messy and really awkward very quickly, whether it's with a friend or through a friend. Some romantic surprise you didn't expect, and for some maybe didn't want, could pop up now. Now, outside of that, wherever it is that you're gathering with others, expect things to go in a way that is decidedly unexpected, but it can make for some interesting memories. Taurus, career, social standing, and life purpose. Do you love the path that you're on? Do your goals align with your heart? I think you're going to get valuable insights in a second as to whether or not you feel that your heart is in it. Whatever goals it is that you are pursuing, where heart is there, this is where a more rebellious streak shows up and you commit to the journey ahead. Where it isn't, you just might in a second leave a certain pathway behind and go towards something new. In the context of love, bosses, people in positions of authority, that's where things can get messy very quickly now. So be careful about any flirtations that might be transpiring. An attraction to somebody who has achieved something that you desire to achieve for yourself could, in an instant, have you seeing your own goals very differently. Gemini, the world could open up to you in an instant, but it might also feel like you don't have that much choice in the matter, even if you do. And that is because, especially where it is that you've got any plans having to do with long distance travel, with foreigners, even at a restaurant with a type of food from a country you've never tried before or been to before, these are the types of spaces and places where it can feel as if things change very quickly, turning on their head. But for all that, it does give you a measure of welcoming in surprises that can unleash a new vision for your life, and nothing less than that. A new creativity that can have you responding very quickly. In the context of love, love gets international, whether it is an established love that you start planning, exploring new adventures together, or whether it is you that ends up connecting with someone very different than you've known before. That first meeting might feel downright awkward, but does get your interest piqued as to whether or not there's a pathway forward. Cancer, you are one of the signs that is likely to experience this in what we call financial houses, which means where it comes to things like credit cards, grants, loans, bursaries, even benefits you qualify for, that's where it can feel as if there is a surprise factor that you have to respond to very quickly. The great thing is when there is such strong financial energy, the money you need is there, but you are engaging spiritual lessons along the way. Just when you thought you had it, maybe you don't, but that really is okay. What you have will come together. Now, in the context of love, this is about vulnerability, intimacy, and authentic connections, feeling pulled towards other people. Do what feels right for you to do in light of your unique circumstance, but a moment can serve as a powerful and unexpected, if not uncomfortable, catalyst towards more profound change. Leo, partnerships and love are very much in focus, and you are one of the signs that really needs to be mindful that romantic surprises really do not go as planned, whether in established bonds or wanting to connect with someone new. It's like the last thing you expected that person to do, they do it. The last thing that you hoped for actually takes place. And with this surprise comes truth. That really is key here. It is about you seeing things differently in an instant, but also responding to an unexpected moment that shows you the truth of what you feel about where you are in love and what it is that you might want to do next. Virgo, clients, customers, immediate supervisors, and co-workers. These are the kinds of people where there could be some sort of romantic developments or opinions or expressions that feel like they come out of nowhere. They are awkward. They are unexpected. So just be mindful of that. Whatever it is that you think might be happening could turn on its head very quickly, becoming something else. So pace yourself at this time, especially if it's you that has feelings for one of these people. But for all that, spaces that you visit every day, these might also be places where some romantic declaration might occur. Outside of that, though, because Venus has to do with splurging, be mindful of splurging where it comes to a place that you like to go to. Maybe you like to eat there and it is a splurge, something that you're getting, but it isn't going to satisfy, or it's going to have some sort of an unexpected outcome than you had initially planned. So stay open to possibility. I mean, this just might make for a very interesting story. Libra, romance, flirtation, and what the heart wants, it wants, and that just might take you by surprise. Whether it's you that's feeling a very unexpected attraction to another person, or someone else declaring or flirting with you in unabashed ways, these can set up some pretty awkward moments. So it's up to you to decide how to navigate. But this can also be a time of truth, of understanding what your heart is really wanting. And in the context of getting to know new people, you will have a flash of insight letting you know if it's here or not. Where you are already connected to another, it is a chance to look at love, what love is for you, where that need is reasonable, and maybe where it is not, as part of finding a new understanding. Scorpio, your past and your living situation, they could just turn on their head very quickly now. So whether it is someone reconnecting with you from the past or you just running into them when you least expect it, it could end up being a surprise that feels decidedly very uncomfortable. Outside of that, near your living situation, around your living situation, that's where declarations of love can feel downright uncomfortable. And that also includes if you have any invitation to social events that are in your living space or just nearby where you are. For all that though, this can represent a moment of understanding your romantic past very differently in an instant. As uncomfortable or jarring as the insight might be, it does free you to love that much more in the future. Sagittarius, siblings, cousins, neighbors. It is in the company of these particular people that romantic opportunities can open up with others, but that's also where the discomfort could lie as well. Maybe it's a friend of a sibling or a cousin. Maybe it is a neighbor as well, but things can get awkward really quickly. So pace yourself at this time. But for all that, online connections as well, I gotta say, what you think it is and what it actually is could end up being very different things. Plans that felt sure could end up turning around very quickly as well. And so it's up to you to decide, but I will say it just might make for an interesting story. Capricorn, given that this energy is speaking to a financial house, the money you need is going to be there, but this can be an unexpected expenditure or a way to go about making money that you didn't expect that ends up being uncomfortable for you in some way or challenges you. Some challenges can be good, but this is going to require an adjustment period, especially with new opportunities. The money you need is there, so that is no worries. Now, outside of that, remember, love and self-love are intimately connected for you now, and you are about to gain some very powerful insights into what that connection just might be for you. Spaces and places that you go to emphasize healthy self-love for you, whatever that might be uniquely for you, well, that's where there might be a romantic overture that feels uncomfortable, but does give you a new perspective into what it is you're going for. Aquarius, this is the last few days of Venus in your sign, and she is going out speaking intention with your ruling planet. This is an undeniable moment to understand who you are in love, where you are in love, how you feel about it. But Venus in your sign does make you a magnet. Unfortunately, this is a magnet for decidedly uncomfortable moments. I'm so sorry to say, but it does happen. But at least it helps you to get clear about what you're really going for in the context of love. Look, beauty treatments and anything you do to celebrate your unique beauty really could go in all kinds of directions. It's not recommended, but what is recommended is unabashedly, unapologetically celebrating your unique beauty as you are right now today. Pisces, if anybody out there is likely to be shocked and surprised and feeling like some declaration of love came smack out of nowhere, it certainly is you. When you least expect it, it could just pop up, but that can be part of what makes it uncomfortable. Another part might be whom it is that is making this declaration. So pace yourself at this time. Whatever your expectations, it's going to end up being something very different. For all that, this can also be a remarkable moment that in an instant helps you to put the past behind you so that you're that much more open to the future, whether that future involves someone new you hope to meet or someone you're with now. Thank you for watching. It'll be a great transit. Enjoy.